Right, here I am attempting to make a new replacement diaphragm for my 4-point unit. It's two pieces of cladding, I suppose, with a hole drilled through it. In between I have sandwiched a sheet of nitrile reinforced with nylon. This contraption hanging off it is about 2 kilos of lead weights, and they are attached via part of the 4-point unit, focus, using a couple of washers which seem to grip it quite nicely. If I lift it, it unclips. It's a ingeniously simple method. This is my Mark II diaphragm. The first one I tried to do upright. I couldn't get inconsistent pull or push on it by hand, so I thought I'd use gravity to help. So this is kind of like a two-stage process. The sheet, which I might show you later once this is unbolted, is initially stretched, and then these bolts are loosened and the sheet pulled through slightly deeper and then heated again. I'm using a hot air gun set to flavour number 5. Any hotter and you end up with the issue I had on the Mark I attempt, which is burning through. But this was a really good learning curve actually. This is basically the Mark I version of what I'm making here. Hole punched in the centre, the 4-point unit piston attached to it. I'll talk about that later. And yeah, heat and gravity pulling that through, weights, creates hopefully a better version of this one. This one didn't actually form deep enough. This one I'm hoping is, because of the two-stage system I used on this, the stretch and then pull through deeper and stretch again should give us more movement. We need about 2 centimeters, and I think we're pretty much there. I don't want to push my luck with it. If this one doesn't work, then we'll make a Mark III version of it. Yeah, so very simple setup, but took a little bit of thinking about to get this one working. This is the 4-point unit. The original diaphragm, which is knocking about somewhere here, was totally perforated, completely useless. I do actually have a 3-point unit replacing the 4-point unit on the car at the moment. It's working really well, but I wanted, well actually the reason I started this project was I just really wanted to see how it had failed and how badly it had failed. And then I got to thinking about making a replacement diaphragm. Now you can't buy these are non-service items. And even if you could, they'd be 30-40 years old. So I started wondering whether I could form the nitrile sheets, reheat form them into a replacement. Now please don't judge me on this one. This one is a dog's breakfast, but like all things, it's a learning curve. But the idea is to replicate that and then eventually cut out the diaphragm shape, refit it in here, obviously fit the springs, and then re-crimp those edges over and hopefully form a airtight, vacuum tight seal. But who knows, this is really just for fun. It'll either work or it won't work, so hey, who knows. Yeah, so I only decided to film this late in it because, as I say, it started off as a you know, what's inside, what's gone wrong video, and then I kind of progressed onwards from there. Interesting. We've definitely got a profile that looks about right. I'm a bit concerned about the wrinkling around the edge. If we look at the original, obviously it was moulded, but it has a nice sort of ring around it, which acts like a gasket, I guess. This one, there is the potential for vacuum leak if we're not careful. I may see if I can find a sealant that might work with this material. It might be alright though, I might get away with it. Right, so that is the outer shape of the this gasket came out of the original, so I need to sort of tape it down and then mark around it and then cut it out. I'm going to spend some time just making sure it's centered, and then we'll have a look at it. So that's cut out now. Just going to test fit, see if it fits in. This is upside down, by the way. I just want to make sure there's not binding and that. Yeah, that seems like a fairly flush fit. So I might just disassemble this now and fit it into there and just make sure there are no binding issues. Okay, so it's now fitted the right way around into its housing. This is fully bottomed out, so it can't go forward any further. And this seal, I know it looks a bit roughly at the edges, but it does press down flat without pulling the piston up. So I think we've got enough movement in the diaphragm to allow it to do its full range of movement. So that is good news. So yeah, pleased with that. Right, I think I'm just about ready for assembly now. We've got the new diaphragm fitted. I've had to make up a new mounting system to hold the whole plates together. That's thread locked into the center. Basically, I've drilled, tapped, and then run a stud into it. I've pointed the stud to match the original point and filed down a nut to make it as flush as possible. So it's quite closely approximates the original. The diaphragm, I've used RTV on the atmospheric side because it shouldn't be in contact with any fuel. That is not fuel safe RTV. And on this side, on the vacuum side, which may come into contact with oils and fuels, I've used non-setting blue polymer. So that's ready to go back together. Just got to put the spring in, line everything up, and then clamp it together by bending the tabs back over. I have no idea how well this is going to go. There may be swearing, but I'll come back when I've got something to show you. I've taken my time and I've worked my way around with a punch and gently peened all the edges over to re-clamp the front to the back. I haven't checked it for vacuum yet. I'm going to do that in a second, but it seems to be pretty well clamped. I don't think there's any more movement left in it at all, so fingers crossed that should do us. Right, I can't actually test it because when I go to suck through here, the fumes from the blue Holomar are so overpowering that it just makes me, it burns your mouth. It's disgusting. I just noticed on the back of the packet it's got like instant death symbol, so I'm going to leave it for a day or two until I try vacuuming it. But what I can tell you is that it does hold pressure, and I'll show you what I mean. I've compressed it and then it sprung back a little bit, but it's pulled a vacuum, and if I pull my finger off now it should come out again. So it's definitely holding a vacuum. So I have quite a high confidence that our diaphragm is working. I have a full range of movement on there as well. Difficult because the spring's quite hard, but hang on. Let me see if I can compress it and film at the same time. It will compress. It will compress all the way down to its stop, so we've got a full range of movement as well. But until the fumes settle down on this thing, I can't really do a proper suction test. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to leave it alone now before I do it a mischief, before all the sealants and Honda Bond etc. have dried. But yeah, I am pleased with the fact that we've managed to potentially resurrect it. I do have one confession though, and that is that I'm not sure whether I'm going to put this directly back on the car. I might be keeping this one as a reserve. I have got a replacement that is set up and tuned now, and the car is working beautifully with the replacement one, but I was just very concerned that at some point could fail as well, because these diaphragms are now 30 years old plus, and I think the one I've got as a replacement is nearly 40 years old. So yeah, so I'm going to keep this in stock. I will test it using vacuum, basically sucking on it. I may even plug it into the car vacuum system at some point and make sure it goes for full range of motion, but this will be a spare. I will leave it for a few days. I may do a follow-up video just to show it in action, but like I say, it will kill me if I try and suck any air out of that chamber at the moment. I'll try again tomorrow at some point, come back. Anyway, I'm rambling. The workshop, as usual, looks like a bomb's gone off in it. I've got so many other projects on the go at the moment, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I'll come back when I've got something else. It's been a couple of days, all the sealants have dried now, and I am going to test this system out. It's difficult to do this whilst filming and sucking on the tube. So I'm not going to talk while I'm doing it, because obviously I'm going to have a pipe in my mouth. Actually, why do it on there? Let's do it over here. Very difficult to do one-handed. Let me try that again, but holding differently. Right. I'm struggling to get enough suction through the tube, but when I'm not holding the camera I can get it to fully retract. I'm just full of cold and I can't quite get enough suction on it today. I'll try one more time. Right, I've blocked the pipe, so rather than doing it with my fingers, I'll try and do it with this pipe that's on there. And there you have it, full retraction with my mouth full of pipe. And we should be able to adjust that movement on the back. So I'm going to adjust this nut here by removing it outwards, and that should allow us to have more movement on the piston on the initial suction. Let's just give that a go and see if we can get a bit more movement. Take two. Yeah, much better. Just block those up to create vacuums behind them. Good. Good stuff.